Hey Slayers, today we're going to beat the House of the Dead without taking a single hit. Starting off, this scientist is going to ask us to save every other scientist, but we're Giga Chats, we're not here for that. Even though I already have all the weapons, we're going to be using the handgun the majority of the time because I love spamming with this weapon. After reaching Sophie, she immediately gets taken by the second boss of this game, so we have to save her, which, spoiler alert, we don't really save her. But we do save the scientist on the bridge so the game doesn't send us to the lower level. Upon entering the mansion, we shoot the zombie monkey on the right so the game doesn't send us to the second floor because it's safer and faster. We shoot more monkeys, and for the first time, we use the grenade launcher on these buff dudes. This will be the other weapon we'll be using in a few spots throughout the game. After killing these two zombies, we get to the boss arena. The boss is not very difficult. All I do is leave my crosshair on his left nipple, and every time he moves, I shoot. Once he reaches the second phase, all it takes is one shot on different parts of his body, and done. Chapter 2 is supposed to get harder, but it gets slightly easier, and that's because I do something called pre-aiming, which is basically positioning the crosshair where the next enemy would be and shooting it as soon as it appears on screen. For example, I put the crosshair on this spot to take down this guy before it tries to hit me, which can happen almost instantly. Here we save the scientist, although it's actually faster to just kill him. And in case you're wondering, this run is hitless, which is not the same category as damageless. In hitless, you can afford to lose health for not saving a civilian, so it's not a big deal. But yeah, after that, we kill the next two zombies and make sure to take down the third one so we don't get sent to the bottom area. Next, we use a grenade to kill two big guys, kill some leeches, and shoot another big guy on the belly because he likes to cover his face. Now I'm doing a series of pre-aims to avoid getting hit by all of these enemies. Grenade this guy and his friends because they can be bully at times. We take down the last enemy close to the scientist, and now it's time for the second boss of this game. For this boss, I just spam my handgun on him and kill his minions whenever they appear, which is not many because I end this phase pretty quickly. Phase 2 becomes a tracking skill test, so as long as I have my crosshair on him the whole time, I won't take any hits. Phase 3 is much of the same, and with that, the second boss is down. Now we're in the second to last chapter, and the game introduces a few new enemies, so the difficulty ramps up a bit, but I have my trusty grenade launcher, so it's not a big deal. Basically, we use it for almost every group of enemy in this chapter, especially on the group that appears very close to us. I didn't use it on these guys, and I almost took a hit because of it. Another pre-aim here, but this time with a grenade launcher because this guy ended my last run. Now we choose the elevator on the left because it's a safer route. Down the elevator, we take out this guy with the barrel and quickly take out the next one before it throws his axe at us. This next part, I only use the handgun because it's a pretty chill moment. Almost all the enemies spawn pretty far away, so it's not a problem for us. But going up the elevator, things start to get serious again. Make sure to shoot this group in the chest to kill them in time. And for the big guys, we take the barrels out first and then shoot them in the head. This guy missed leg day, so we're punishing him for that. By the way, you probably noticed by now, but a lot of enemies' weak spots are not just in their heads. Some of them have it in the upper chest, some of them have it in bellies, and others just take one limb for them to die. Now we're in the last portion of chapter 3, and since this group is pretty far, I'm just going to headshot them. But for these last groups, I will use the grenade launcher because these guys can be brutal. Now, if you fear spiders, this is the time to look away and not look until I say so because this boss looks like one. Phase 1 is pretty simple. Just spam in the head a couple times and the boss will go away, which starts phase 2. Now we need to shoot its projectiles, and once its head bops 4 times, we shoot it at the correct time to stop it from attacking. You can immediately shoot it once again before it protects itself. By doing so, we're able to 2-cycle the boss, and that's the end of chapter 3. Also, you can look now. The last chapter is a bit of a boss rush. It has the first and second boss, but not the third. The first boss is pretty much the same thing. Just leave the crosshair in the left nipple and shoot it when it moves. And for second phase, the same thing. Just shoot each part of his body and done. Now, immediately after, we fight the second boss, and this version is surprisingly easier than the first one. I just spam more than ever, and the fight ends pretty quickly. This haul is probably the scariest portion of the whole game using a handgun, because you deal with 2 enemies at the same time and they attack you pretty quickly. But I'm using a grenade launcher, so it feels as if a red carpet has been thrown for me. And this is it, the final boss of the game, the Magician. Comparing it to the original version, it's not as difficult, but it takes way longer to beat. Basically, you shoot his exposed limb whenever it attacks to deal damage and interrupt him. And after a bit, he'll start to charge up and throw projectiles in the sky, in which you have to shoot them before it lands on you. He'll also try to do a dash attack from time to time, but as long as I spam it, it will be near impossible for him to hit me. With a few more shots, the boss is defeated and I beat the game without taking a single hit. Subscribe if you enjoyed this. Later!